All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we look ahead to the NFL draft. Actually, we're going to look past the NFL draft because today we're going to look at a group of players that is likely to be the best players not drafted. That's right. When the draft comes and goes, who's going to be left for the 49ers and other teams to fight over? We'll talk about that coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Call my friend Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. And this video is brought to you by our friends at Aura, and we'll have a word from Aura in a moment. All right, the NFL draft coming up at the end of April, and a lot of people are fired up. And I've heard people say, nothing matters after nothing. All that matters is the first round. Nothing matters after the first round. You know what? The biggest number of players that enter the NFL are undrafted players. There's more undrafted players that make the NFL than any round. More undrafted players make the NFL than first round picks. There's just a lot of undrafted players. So it's an imperfect science, right? Anytime you have people, projecting people and evaluating people, it's going to be, full of inconsistencies and mistakes because people make mistakes. So let's just talk a little bit about the draft as far as who's not going to get drafted. Who are the best players that are not going to get drafted and these teams could be fighting over as soon as the draft ends. And that's exactly what happens, by the way. Now, the 49ers, I think, are going to be uniquely positioned this year. Why? Because they've got a lot of opportunity. They really need to get a bunch of players that can contribute out of this draft. So the Rams, when they were in the same position a few years ago, had like 20 undrafted free agents. The 49ers might be a big player in the undrafted market, and there's a good chance that they may get 7 or 8 of their first choices just because they have a relatively thin roster and lots of opportunity for undrafted free agents to come in and contend for jobs. Plus, you got an organization that's been on top, that's been winning, and so it's the double, right? If you're a young player, hey, I'd like to play for a team that I know and I see on TV and I think's got some talent. Hey, I'll play for the 49ers. Oh, and I want to go somewhere where there's opportunity. Oh, that's also the 49ers. So the Niners may really dominate in this pool of players, but let's go through it. Let's go through it top to bottom, and who are the best players who are unlikely to be drafted in the NFL draft and will be available as undrafted free agents. All right, let's go into the quarterback position. I mean, there's a bunch of guys, but to me, the 4 or 5 best guys that I think potentially could not be drafted: Brady Cook from Missouri, who had great testing times. I mean, he runs incredibly well. Just think of Brock Purdy. He's got Brock Purdy-like mobility. He's a little bit bigger guy, too, about 6'2 and a half. Doesn't have a huge arm, but this guy's a gamer. He's a winner. To hear the Missouri receivers talk about Brady Cook, you would have thought they were talking about God. I mean, the respect that they showed Brady Cook. I mean, this guy's beloved in Missouri. They love him. The fans love him there. He was an emotional leader there. So Brady Cook may not go drafted, may go undrafted. Taylor Elgersma from Canada played at Laurier, played 12-man football, if you can believe it. Yeah, he played 12-man football up in Canada. So he first Canadian quarterback, I believe, to be invited to the Senior Bowl. And he's big and strong and fast with a gun. So Taylor Elgersma, he's raw, and as I said, he played 12-man football. So there's going to be some adjustments there. But if you're patient, you got the time. This guy's a big kid with a big arm. Taylor Elgersma, Seth Hennigan from Memphis. I don't think he's going to get drafted, and he's kind of an underrated gamer. He has a lot of come from behind wins. This guy's really good in the fourth quarter of games. And he came back in the Senior Bowl and won the game on a pass to Jack Betch at the very end. So Seth Hennigan's got a little magic to him. And the other guy, and probably the guy that I like the most, though I do love Brady Cook, is Peyton Thorne from Auburn. Peyton Thorne, Eugene Asante joked with me the other day. We call him the Vanilla Vic because he's so fast. He's also the son of a coach. His grandfather played football. This guy's really smart. He's been around the game his whole life. Really athletic. I mean, think about it. Smart, athletic quarterback who's played a lot of football. Who does that sound like? Yeah, it sounds a lot like Brock Purdy. Peyton Thorne is a pretty good prospect. I'm not saying he's Brock Purdy. I don't believe he is, but I think he's a pretty good prospect with mobility and smarts and maturity, and there's a lot to like there. So I could see Peyton Thorne being a real nice undrafted free agent. If there's a position in this draft where you're absolutely going to find some good players undrafted, it's at running back. The undrafted running back list is really, really good. I mean, really good. There's all these guys may go undrafted. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, who was the MVP of the Shrine Game, University of Arizona running back, super athletic. Donovan Edwards from Michigan, great straight line speed and good size. Mario Anderson from Memphis, just a monster, bow-legged monster. Really, really good running back. Quentin Cooley from Liberty, 220 pounds on a 5'7" frame, tackle breaking machine, not going to go drafted. One of my favorites here is Montrell Johnson from Florida. Really electric, really fun to watch. Probably not going to get drafted. Joshua Williams from LSU. I think Joshua Williams is a really good running back. Really solid. Probably not going to get drafted. Marcus Yarns from Delaware. Ulysses Bentley from Ole Miss. Jalen White from Georgia Southern. Shunderick Powell from Central Arkansas. I don't think any of those guys are going to be drafted. Every single one of those guys is going to play in the NFL. Every single one of these guys I'm talking about is going to make it in the NFL. Not like one might make it. They're all going to make it. Maybe there's one that won't make it. I mean, they're all good running backs. This is a phenomenal running back draft. And you're going to get running backs in every round, and you're going to find a bunch after the draft, and I just read you a dozen of them. So there you go. All right, let's move to wide receiver. Wide receiver is a bunch of guys. Even though it's not considered to be a great wide receiver draft as far as stars up front, there's some good depth here. Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn. Runs in the 4.37 Penn State transfer, got good size, had good production this year. He's a good player. Efton Chisholm from Eastern Washington played on the red turf for Eastern Washington. He's like impossible to cover. Now, he didn't run a great 40 time. He's not the biggest guy, but you know what? There was this other guy at Eastern Washington that wasn't there, that was there that long ago, named Cooper Kupp, who ran 4.62 and rode that to the best player in the league. Best receiver in the league, at least for a year or so. So don't sleep on Efton Chisholm. Efton Chisholm is a player. He is absolutely a player. Zachary Franklin from Illinois, transfer from Texas San Antonio. Reminds me a lot of Juwan Jennings. He just catches everything you throw him. And he's got great ball skills, and he'll hold on. He'll catch it in the crowd. He's tough as hell. Zachary Franklin's a really good receiver. He's not a burner, but neither's JJ. And look, he's playing in the league. If you are looking for that guy who will take the top off, how about Arian Smith from Georgia? He's probably the fastest receiver going, 6 feet, 205 pounds. Doesn't have good ball skills, but if you're just looking for a receiver that can run off the coverage and be a threat, I mean, he's definitely that. Rock Taylor from Memphis, probably not going to get drafted. Really good big receiver. Daquan Felton, little stiff, but he's big and fast. I mean, we're talking about really fast and really pretty big receiver. He's probably not going to get drafted. Winston Wright from ECU, the Pirate wide receiver, probably not going to get drafted. Jordan Watkins, I think, is a really good receiver for Ole Miss, probably not going to get drafted. So, I mean, there's a lot of good players that probably are not going to get drafted. Now, tight end wise, it's a really deep tight end group, and I'm looking at 5 or 6 tight ends here that I think are really good that are likely not to get picked. Caden Prieskorn from Ole Miss, big 6'5", former quarterback, very smart. Just a gigantic target. Benjamin Urasek, who was Stanford's best player, transferred to Georgia, got kind of caught up in a numbers game, so he didn't produce at a crazy level, but he's a really good player. Malik Carr at Houston, the former Michigan State transfer. Anthony Torres, we just had on the show this week from Toledo, is an older prospect. He's 25, but he's smart, working on his masters. He's athletic. He's productive. He's coming off a really good year. He's over the back problems he had in high school. Toledo's own Anthony Torres. Cole Taylor, who played at LSU in West Virginia, big 6'7" tight ends, got some talent. Carter Runyon from Towson. Rivaldo Fairweather from Auburn. Long arms, like 84-inch wingspan. Has only been playing football for a short amount of time, but he's an incredible athlete. Those are some of the guys at tight end. Now, there's some undrafted guys on the line too that are going to be worth watching. At tackle, Caleb Rogers from Texas Tech. Niners really like offensive linemen that can move. I don't know that anybody moves better than Caleb Rogers. He really moves well. Esapole from Washington State, who's didn't play high school football, didn't play football till he went to Chabot Junior College, and this year didn't allow a sack in like 500 and something snaps of pass rush. I mean, Esapole had a really good year for Washington State. At guard, Marcus Ware from Montana State, Thomas Perry from Middlebury, Javontes Spraggins from Tennessee, Luke Newman from Michigan State, all good players. All of them are slated to be undrafted. Ware, I think, could be a plug-and-play player at center. He played right tackle at Montana State, but he looked great in the lead-up to the All-Star games. And then at center, there's Pete Kendall's son, Drew Kendall from Boston College. There's Eli Cox, who's really underrated for Kentucky. Big-bodied guy, very talented. Gus Hartwig from Purdue. So there's not a lot. You're not going to find a lot of offensive linemen. They're so highly coveted. You're not going to find a lot of good undrafted offensive linemen, but there's a couple there. Esapole, Marcus Ware, Thomas Perry, Caleb Rogers. I think all those guys have an NFL career coming. All right, let's flip the card and talk about defense. How about defense on the defensive side of the ball? Who are the good players that are not going to be drafted on the defensive side? All right, let's start at defensive tackle. Really awesome defensive tackle draft. So I'm looking at the numbers and I'm thinking all these guys are probably not going to get picked. Cam Horsley from Boston College, big 315-pound defensive tackle, not going to be drafted. Thor Griffith from Louisville, not going to be drafted. One of my favorites is Aiden Huntington from Tulane, who's a 6-foot, 280-pound pass rusher. Probably not going to be drafted. I mean, that's a guy that I absolutely would try to get. Eric Gregory from Arkansas, I think is really strong. He's not going to be drafted. Jay Toyia from UCLA is a really good run stuffer. Don't think he's going to be drafted. Keontae Hamilton from Rutgers, really active. Don't think he's going to be drafted. Keziah Izzard from Penn State, kind of a shorter defensive tackle, but he moves incredibly well. Not going to be drafted. Big Nash Hutmacher from Nebraska, one of the best collegiate wrestlers in the country. True nose guard, excellent against the run. Really had good workout numbers across the board. Nash may not get drafted. Ricky Barber from Central Florida. I mentioned Desmond Watson from Florida. Junior Tafuna from Utah. I don't think that any of these guys are getting picked. That's at defensive tackle. Now, defensive end, there's also some really, really underrated guys that are going to slip through the cracks. BJ Green from Colorado, who's 6 feet, 260, played for Deion this year. Tremendous pass rusher. I don't think he's going to get drafted. Barron Sorrell from Texas. I thought Sorrell was excellent in the All-Star games. Not going to be drafted. Josheen Davis from Wake Forest is incredibly electrically fast. Don't think he's going to be drafted. RJ Oben from Notre Dame, whose dad, Roman Oben, played in the NFL, not going to be drafted. So you got some decent defensive ends. Linebacker-wise, it's an excellent deep linebacker draft. Cody Simon from Ohio State. I just heard Field Yates, talking about how, swearing up and down how great Cody Simon was. May not get drafted. Nick Martin from Oak State, a little undersized, may not get drafted. Aaron Smith from South Carolina State, revelation, terrific player, may not get drafted. Bam Martin Scott from South Carolina, really underrated linebacker, may not get drafted. Shamar James from Florida, Casey Osai from Louisiana, Carson Bruner from Washington, David Benda from Texas, Greg Penn from LSU, the nation's leading tackler, Sean Dolak from Buffalo. All those guys may go undrafted. Benda, Osai, Shamar James, Nick Martin, those guys are good. Those guys can play in the NFL for sure. Safety wise, Dan Jackson from Georgia probably is going to get drafted. He ran in the 4.4s, but a lot of the publications don't have him drafted. Major Burns from LSU, Tamarian Wilson from Central Arkansas, Yam Banks from Mississippi. I really like Kenny Gallup from Howard, from one of the HBCU schools, has a great nose for the ball. Robert McDaniel from Jackson State, another HBCU player, incredibly physical hitter. Shamari Simmons from ASU is a rangy player, can play safety or corner. And then, I'll tell you this too. Looking at the numbers at corner, to me, this is probably the area that I'm a little surprised at. There's going to be some really very, very good undrafted corners. Fentrell Cypress, the third from Florida State, good zone corner, ran in the 4.4s, not going to be drafted. Bilal Kone from Western Michigan. I don't think he gets drafted. I really like him. Carlin Vigors from Louisiana Monroe. Don't think he gets drafted. Really like him. Trickweeze Bridges, who was a high recruit to the Florida Gators, just never happened for him there. I think he goes undrafted. BJ Mays from Texas A&M. I think he goes undrafted. And James Burgess from Alabama State, another HBCU corner, big 6'3.5" corner, long arms, really intriguing. I don't think he's going to get drafted. So this is going to be a very, very deep draft. And the 49ers are going to take, my guess is between 11 and 15 players when it's all said and done. But they also are going to get probably 5 to 10 undrafted players. And if you're looking at the list that I'm looking at, and there's all kinds of talent there. And you could get, several players that fill, 5 or 6 holes with guys who are undrafted free agents this year. That's how deep I think this pool really is, especially at, tight end, running back, defensive tackle. Those spots, I mean, really, there's some fantastic players that are going to slip through the cracks. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. And now a word from our sponsor, Aura. Have you ever typed your name on the internet and seen all of your private information is online? Are you tired of receiving tons of spam calls from random numbers? Are you receiving more and more of these as time has gone on? Well, that's where Aura, the sponsor of today's show, can really help you out. Data brokers sell your information to scammers and spammers and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, your email, your home address, all your records, your health records, who your relatives are. It's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use the information to help them access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or any other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up. And best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to the link in the description to start your 2-week free trial. And thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.